GOG's summer sale has officially kicked off, and if you're in the market for some classic PC games that won't break the budget, now is the time to take a look. Between now and June 27th, there are wide and deep discounts across the board from the last few decades. Come with me and I'll share a handful of games from the 90s right up to now that I recommend you check out today. GOG, or its original name Good Old Games, has been running since 2008, helping PC gamers buy DOS and early PC games for modern times. GOG do the heavy lifting of getting older games working in new versions of Windows, making it easy to replay your old favorites or try out some classics for the first time. More recently, GOG has included modern games in their catalog, which makes them as good a platform as the likes of Steam, Origin, and the Epic Store. The summer sale offers deep discounts across the board, so if you've had your eye on a game from the last few years or heard great things about a game released in 1999, now's the time to check out what's on offer. I've grouped my recommendations by decade, so feel free to skip to what you're interested in. I've also included links to each game mentioned in the description. Use these links if you'd like to support the channel. Without further ado, let's jump into the 90s. The first game is Settlers 2 Gold Edition, first released in 1996. Now this is a city building game similar to the early Civilization releases, but it's played in real time versus being turn-based. It does match the relaxed pace of a turn-based game, so if you're looking to sink into the couch and lose a few hours building out your empire, this game is for you. The economy is easy to follow, and outside of a really harsh battle with another city, you don't have to focus too much on the details. The Settlers series has had a resurgence in the 2000s, and Ubisoft is working on a reboot this year, so now's the time to check it out and see if it's a game for you. Myst is a classic adventure puzzle game which debuted in 1994. GOG has the Masterpiece Edition from 1999 on sale right now. The world of Myst is a fantastical collection of islands, each with a set of puzzles, weaving a story together of how you became trapped in this place and who ultimately created it. This version of Myst is a little clunky compared to modern games. If that's not appealing, then Myst was remastered in 2021, and while it's not as cheap as this version, it is also on sale. If you're a fan of point-and-click style adventures, I highly recommend experiencing Myst and its many follow-up games in the series. In my eyes, Total Annihilation was the direction real-time strategy games took after Command & Conquer. Released in 1997, it has a solid story, a great selection of buildings and vehicle types that you can build, and a lot of the modern features you're used to, like stacking building construction, wayfinding, and even patrol routes. The soundtrack on CD is one of the highlights too, giving you calming music while things are quiet and epic orchestral tunes when the battle is on. The lead designer went on to create Supreme Commander in the 2000s, and while those games added a lot of polish to the same format, don't give the original a miss, it still holds up today as a great strategy game. You may have played one of the many Worms games over the years, but have you ever checked out its genesis, its origin? The mid-90s was a great time for PC and Amiga games made by Team 17, and Worms is no exception. You take turns to control a squad of 4 worms with various weapons at your disposal, from the humble bazooka to the hilarious banana bomb, exploding sheep, and more. Stripping away the many layers built on top of the series over the years, there is a core experience here that will entertain you for ages, and when you catch the wind just right and land that killing blow, victory is sweet. By now I imagine everyone's heard of the Dead Space games, but not everyone may have played them. The remaster of this 2008 horror classic will be out next year in 2023, but the original still holds up today and is for sale at a great price. Immersive audio is a key innovation that came from the Dead Space series, and if you've not jump scared your way through Isaac's story, get your plasma cutter ready and go find out what planet cracking is all about. It's hard to believe that the enhanced edition of Baldur's Gate 2 is almost 10 years old, releasing in 2013. You might have heard of the original developer for Baldur's Gate 2, a little studio called BioWare. Following the second edition rule set for D&D, its isometric layout is typical of 2D games from this era. Exploration and combat happen in real time, so be prepared to get your equipment set up before you head out and uncover how you became trapped in a dungeon of torment. If you're a fan of D&D or the early Crusader series, you'll feel right at home here. I can't cover the 2000s without getting to Deus Ex, a first-person RPG released in 2000. You might be more familiar with the franchise reboot, Deus Ex Human Revolution, and this is where it all started. While it looks dated compared to modern games, it has one of the best stories I've played from this decade, and you truly have a choice of combat or stealth to complete your objectives. Great voice dialogue, choices that will have consequences on the rest of the game, gear and augmentation upgrades, you'd swear you'd walked into a Mass Effect game only it's 7 years early. There are turn-based tactics games, and then there's XCOM 2, tasked with uncovering the origins of an occupying alien force, keeping your squad members alive to rank up and gain new abilities, and upgrade your weapons for the battlefield. There's so much depth here that you will get your money's worth from the first playthrough, if you survive that is. The base game from 2016 has plenty of content on its own, but the War of the Chosen expansion is also on sale right now, and I highly recommend checking out both if you'd like to get into this great game. A lot of simulator games are educational by virtue of the way they reproduce something from the real world, but not many teach good PC habits too. PC Building Simulator from 2019 starts you off in a simple workshop fixing up PCs, but you'll soon be running 3D Mark speed tests, removing viruses, and ensuring the CPU has enough thermal paste to keep customers happy. You can honestly learn a lot about PCs from playing this game, and for some of us, it's good to know we still remember the right way to update a thing or two. The Onion Kingdom needs saving again, and only your shenanigans in the kitchen can save the day. Colourful and with pure chaos, can you and up to 3 friends figure out how to make a burger across a busy street, or between pontoons in a river? Maybe from a hot air balloon? This 2019 Gourmet Edition contains a ton of DLC to keep you cooking. Now you just need to stop setting the kitchen on fire while keeping the customers fed. I mentioned the original Deus Ex game from 2000 earlier, but most people will be familiar with Human Revolution, released in 2013. This and its sequel from 2016 are on sale, and are another example of great storytelling in an FPS RPG format. Just like the earlier game, you can fight or stealth your way through the missions, including the boss battles in this Director's Cut version of the first game. There is a rich and deep story here, which I really enjoyed through my first playthrough. Knowing you can make different choices gives you some replayability and a chance to correct getting caught in one spot or deciding to take out an enemy and make a shorter path through a tough area. Control was a game I sat on for 2 years before playing it, and I missed out on such a good game. Another great story of weird and mysterious phenomenon. You have to make your way through the Bureau of Control and set things straight. As you play through, you gain new abilities and become more and more badass, which is good because the enemies get weirder and will challenge you to make good use of your surroundings. The Ultimate Edition contains 2 expansions and the all-important photo mode. Did I mention how great this game looks? If you're on board with third-person combat and superpowers, give this one a try. Now this one will pull out your heartstrings, and it covers heavy topics like death and grief, so if you're not in a good place, I encourage you to skip ahead. Tasked with ferrying lost spirits through to their final resting place, Spiritfarer is a lovely cartoon-style adventure where you collect resources, build out your ship, and explore the area to complete objectives. Very calming and relaxed, you can fish off the back of the boat while you move from place to place, and new abilities will be unlocked as you progress through the game. The first time you complete a Spirit's quest will be tough, but it's so worth it for the experience. I'm still playing through this, and it's one of my favourite indie sleeper games for this decade. Finishing on a puzzle game, Superliminal is played in first person as you use perspective and out-of-the-box thinking to work your way through the world. It uses non-Euclidean space, meaning the layout can change as you move through it, and turning around might show you something different than you just experienced, but that adds to the challenge of solving the puzzles. If you've played games like Antichamber or the Stanley Parable, you'll be right at home. I'm still working my way through this mystery, and it's a lot of fun. With over 3,500 games in the GOG Summer Sale, this is a drop in the ocean of what's available until June 27th. Hopefully I piqued your interest in some of my favourites, old and new, that will definitely give you bang for your buck. There are direct links to all of the games I covered in the description, and by using them, you can help support the channel too. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more gaming coverage. Now get shopping, and I'll see you in the next one.